for rejecting neocolonialist attempt to isolate Africa and then some states, including the Sahelian states and so on. The issue is that we have heard it time and again, and I believe that this time President John Dramani Mahama, as a former president who has taken over and who has dealt with the Western colonialists before, would speak true to his word and ensure that his vision for Ghana and, for that matter, Africa and then the Sahelian states are brought to bear, and the people of these sovereign states benefit from that. We know the history behind the colonialists. We know why they colonized us and where we are going to. We have heard, even within the past Ghana, we had issues like African Beyond, what do you call it, aid and so on. But what did we see? We keep going to we've run our economies down. Security is becoming a major challenge here. Within the West African sub-region, we used to have what we call the NEPAD, which is in the African Peer Review Mechanism. These were institutions that were put across to ensure that we peer review ourselves and to know where we are going. Interestingly, it hasn't worked for us. The unity of Africa has been a problem. It has been a conundrum over the years. In fact, our resources are still being exploited. Even in this modern world, we've been exploited not just through our mineral resources as the colonialists did at the other time. Even our own African leaders who are leading us have destroyed our resources. They are in good pact with the neocolonialists. So for me, if there's a paradigm shift from our new leaders, especially President John Dramani Mahama, who knows much about the impact. Look, we've run our economies down. As we talk today, look at the United States. They've taken a paradigm shift under Trump, deporting Africans or people that they call illegal migrants and so on. They are saying that they are going to cut their aid to Africa, and rightly so. Sometimes we rise to blame the neocolonialists. We rise to blame the Western leaders. But we have run ourselves down. We steal ourselves. We elect leaders who are supposed to use hard and foreign currency for the betterment of our people. These men found their way into private accounts. After they retire from politics, they go back to their mansions, they've stolen money and built, and they are relaxing there, leaving us to our fate. We've run down our education, poverty is growing, diseases, ignorance is at the ascendancy, to the detriment of our people. Who are those who appropriate state resources to themselves? Who are those who are establishing foreign camps, military camps in the various areas, and so on? We become a mockery of the world. And when the world is telling us that we're a shithole, you want to attack them? Imagine during the days of Kwame Nkrumah and his compatriots. They've talked about this. Today we are in the 21st century, almost going to half of it. And yet we cannot provide decent jobs for our people. The only thing we do is to even steal from them. Policies are haywire and so on. Look at what happened, and then the Sahelian states broke away. We have an ECOWAS countries that are together. They sit down, octogenarians who are leaders sit down there and allow the people to be misruled. And allow that people who come under the guise of democratically elected leaders turn around to be tyrants, turn around to exploit the people. And when the people reject them, and then a young military officer comes in to take over and they hail him, you then go. And most of these are leaders, even at 10 parties, when they forcefully turn around the electoral decisions of the people, they invite this our ECOWAS leader to attend such ceremonies, the inaugurations. They go behind the scenes, they drink whiskey and bank tables and hail them. And when our people are suffering, then then the same people take over the power. They say, you say you're isolating them. Look at the irony. They even attempted, they wanted to send military people to fight. They fight for what? It's a sovereign decision the people have taken. How can we interfere in the sovereign decision of the various countries? Don't we recognize that? And I think sometimes we allow us, there are little things. Imagine that our parliaments can even sometimes approve loan or grants of $5 million. $5 million, $7 million in parliament, the whole parliament. Is that not an insult to us? And that $5 million, appointees have gotten more than that. They've stolen more than that. It's in under their belts. Some have used politics to hide them and so on. So for me, to operationalize this and to see to it that it comes to the benefit of why President John Dramani Mahama is calling this, I was happy that he had, initially I didn't understand until I read a little bit about why he had to send Colonel Gbuflolati to that. It means that we have even recognized, it's a master stroke, looking at the stage of Gbuflolati, looking at the fact that he is an army officer, he's a lawyer, he's a trainer and so on. He really understands the dynamics of our region, and it means that we have already officially recognized and we shall be dealing with them. Yesterday I was hearing about the withdrawal, the ECOWAS finally recognizing that the Sahelian states have broken away, formed the alliance and so on, and they want to tell them that they should recognize. What are you telling them about? Who pushed them into that corner? The hypocrisy and the sycophancy too. Mahama, speak out. What has happened to NEPAD? What has happened to the African peer review mechanism? If we were following these things diligently, probably we wouldn't have gotten to where we got to. What has happened to all those things?
But ECOWAS is just encouraging its members to still continue doing business with
yes,
the Sahel
but you
states.
see, it is, yes, and I think that, you see, the Sahelian states, if I were among them for a decision maker, you can allow the free movement of individual citizens from the, because we are brothers if you look at this so much. But the leaders who cause it, they should not allow them to come there. Akufo-Addo and his compatriots, when they are coming, they should take them visas. They cause where we are now. Look, the essence of what has happened is that, you see, when you are together, you share security. The West African sub-zone has a lot of insurgents. Boko Haram, the jihadists, patrolling, and these are sponsored by the Western powers and so on. Now the Sahelian states are forming a kind of a relationship with Russia, Turkey, and Iran. And they believe that with hard work and with proper cohesion, they should be able to benefit from such a relationship. And the Western world have been exploiting us. They are exploiting our uranium, you name all the natural minerals around, for their own benefit. Look at even how we allow illicit transfer or leakages of revenue to this world. I often tell people that, look, if you look at the illicit money transfer outside Africa here, it's in trillions of dollars, more than the total amount of grants, loans given to us, and direct investment and so. Who allowed this in? It's because we have our porous trade relationships with them, and the capacity of the multinational corporations within this and becomes a conduit within the West African subzones to allow the filtration of money outside. It's a new form of colonialism. It's a new form on grounds that they stop the human trade. What do? They allow our taxes to be filtered there, and that those taxes they continue to support their economies and their people, and we continue to be dependent. But our custom officers and officers who have been employed to ensure that these gaps are closed, it also becomes a conduit for them to milk at their own people. The little pittance they get, and if you look at the illicit outflows out, it's in trillions. That amount alone for the past 30 years is over 1.5 trillion. And these figures were discovered when the African economists met in South Africa, led by Oliver one of the economists there. And they brought out so much copious information on that. They would always have their weight out. But you need strong leaders. You need people who stand by their word to ensure that they do not take us for granted. Right. We have become like a laughing stock. The Western world looks at it. How do you go to borrow money like for that and come and celebrate with Kenke, with Wache? You go and borrow money. Then the one who gave the money, they're sitting there looking at, look at this. They'll say, look at these people. They are celebrating Kenke party at the Ministry of Finance with our money. They are celebrating Wache there. Then you run your economy down and then you go for haircuts. Yesterday I was on another program. I learned the president after building your president, Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, built a mansion in France. Built a mansion. You were defending him all over.
He was the president of.
Yes, in that context I understand. But whether Ghana benefited from his stewardship is another thing. That he's currently resting in France, in the mansion he has built. So you have not left all of us who have faith. A former president, you've run away, you are relaxing in France. Where did you build? You couldn't have built your mansion in Sanema.
But he has a choice. He has a choice.
Why didn't he build it in Sanema?
Why not? Why not in France?
Aha. So you go and build it and live in France. Should anything happen, the French people will take it and leave it for us. You could have built it at Eburi. You name it, any part of the country, because we are the people who gave you the power. And power goes with authority, and authority goes with resources and liabilities. You chose how when you do that to yourselves, then what do you want the Western world to do? They'll continue to treat us as beggars. They'll continue to look down on us. They'll continue to look down on us in a condescending manner. When we go for this signing of loans and whatnot, we can do it if we really want to maximize the use of our resources. I think this is my take on it.
All right, thank you very much, Honorable. Mr. London.
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning again.
But before that, I'm curious. Why is London your family name?
Yes, my surname, you people tend to spell it wrong a lot of the time.
How is it spelled?
Longdon.
Oh, London.
Yes.
Not London like the city London.
No. Longdon.
Right, interesting. All right, carry on, sir.
Anyway, yes, so good morning again. Good morning to my brother and my senior comrade here. And good morning to the viewers as well. Yes, I think this salute from WAPO to President Mahama is duly deserved. I think President Mahama, right from the word go, when I say right from the word go, I'm talking about the day he was inaugurated, demonstrated his credential as somebody who was going to be able to attract and work with and cooperate with a lot of leaders across board, particularly from the continent. Something that has been missing and key in our African politics for a long time. Yes, when we have AU heads of state meetings, they all meet there. But we know that among them there are issues and there are, the usual politics. We know that. Thanks to the late Kwame Nkrumah, when Ghana celebrated its 50th anniversary, all the African leaders, in recognition of Kwame Nkrumah, came to Ghana. And our then President Kufuor, also benefited from that. But at his inauguration recently, President Mahama has demonstrated that he's been able to attract all these leaders with different political, I won't say persuasions, but stance, and they all came and participated fully. We saw some of the comments, heard some of the comments they made, and so that I think has been a very major credit to him, and he has set a certain direction as to how he intends to govern. Since then, he's made a few foreign travels. We've heard some of the things he said. So all this is very clear that his focus is not just economic development and progress of Ghana, but its integration with its African countries. Primarily our neighbors, including our brothers in the Sahel who have recently exited ECOWAS. And for him to have been able to attract the Burkina president to come to Ghana and also be around with President Tinubu of Nigeria, who at one point had become virtually his adversary, I think speaks volumes for President Mahama himself. So for me, it is not surprising that WAPO and other institutions should salute him on the way he started. All we can do is to wish him well and hope that he will stay focused. And of course, it's not a straight road. As you are progressing, we know there will be forces, agents of the Neocolonialists, etc., who will also be having their own plans and schemes, to derail and sabotage. So I hope and pray that he remains focused and is able to manage the challenges, moving forward as and when they occur. So, as a Ghanaian, I'm very happy that once again we are, as a country, beginning to show that leadership, that bright African black star that Ghana once was, that we are beginning to shine again and give motivation and direction and inspiration to the rest of the continent. Yes, I must concede that in the very recent past, certain actions in our foreign policy direction have not necessarily been in tandem with that ambition that our leaders have always had from yesteryear. And we have actually gone contrary. It was difficult to imagine that Ghana would not support the Sahrawi people. But we actually came out and issued a statement against them. But thankfully, like I'm saying, we are beginning to see a new movement in this direction. I just hope that the steps that President Mahama has begun to take, like my brother mentioned, his appointment of Colonel Bebolati. Yes, he's a retired senior army officer, a lawyer, experienced politician, and he has worked very closely in the years past in the security architecture of the Rawlings administration, knowing the political dynamics in those days and how Rawlings steered through with Obeda Samoa and others. Obeda Samoa, then foreign minister. So I believe that Colonel Bebolati being appointed a special envoy demonstrate that President Mahama intends to maintain a working relationship with these countries. As a way of, yes, they have broken away officially from ECOWAS, but still have a working relationship in the hope that the cooperation that ECOWAS initially envisaged would continue to manifest with these countries. Yes, a statement has also been issued that yes, although they'll be carrying ECOWAS passports, they'll still be recognized. Certain protocols will still go through.
Yeah.
And many of these things, you always know that there are a lot of behind the scenes discussions and negotiations that go on. And we cannot take away the very strong possibility that Ghana, currently under its present leadership, is playing a very positive role in trying to achieve some of these things. So what we'll do is just to wish them well, wish the government well, President Mahama, and in doing so, strengthen how we're going. I'm not too sure whether it would be proper to begin to talk about his nominations for the position of foreign minister. It is my hope that the newly nominated foreign minister would, and I'm happy to see that he has actually tried to begin to take counsel from very experienced people in the like, well, what I know about is Dr. Obeda Samoa. I hope sincerely he's going to consult deeply with a lot of senior career diplomats, people who have been out there, not just in the diplomatic service under the Ghana Foreign Ministry, but people who have been in the diplomatic service in the international agencies, UN, UNESCO, etc. Because all that comes into play.
Yeah.
Because for President Mahama to have achieved what he has done, it takes a lot to achieve this. And I am sure that he would not want to see his foreign minister fail or do anything that will not promote the way he's doing things. So I just hope that his foreign minister nominee will carefully take his time and be guided by the way President Mahama has started moving, the way some predecessors have moved, and how things should be done. It's not going to be about, the usual political agitations. No way. It is a world of diplomacy and international relations. And international relations sometimes demands or necessitates that you have certain very strange bedfellows for the good of your country. And you must be able to have that capacity to manage and handle and sometimes even engineer some of such situations. That's why I'm saying that I'm happy that he's had the wisdom to begin to tap from the experience of some of these persons. I wish him well in the hope that President Mahama will be able to even succeed even more from what he started.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Landing. Comrade Chrissy Pratt.
Well, first of all, I think it's important for us to understand the organization which is commending President John Dramani Mahama of Ghana. From what I know, WAPO, or the West African People's Organization today, is one of the most powerful institutions in the West African region. I mean, if you take its members from Ghana, it includes the Trade Union Congress of Ghana, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, and the Socialist Movement of Ghana. Now, if you go to Nigeria, its membership includes the National Labour Council of Nigeria, NLC, which is the most powerful trade union in Nigeria, and also the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. In Benin, for example, its membership includes the Communist Party of Benin, which is a registered political party. It also has, in La Côte d'Ivoire, the Communist Party of La Côte d'Ivoire and the Peasants Association of La Côte d'Ivoire, and trade union movements in Burkina Faso, in Niger, in Senegal, and so on. On the Executive Council of WAPO are very seasoned politicians, labor activists, and youth activists from the West Africa sub-region. So this is a huge voice in West Africa. It represents mass organizations in West Africa. And it's been in existence for 2 years, and it has made significant contributions to the discussions of problems of the West African people, and also sought ways of dealing with these problems and so on. Now, ideologically and politically, the West African People's Organization is modeled on the West African Students' Union, which was led by people like Kwame Nkrumah and Bankole Timothy and so on in history. It's also modeled on the Pan-African movement broadly, which was headed by people like Du Bois, Makoni, Kwame Nkrumah, Nnamdi Azikiwe, and so on. So clearly, its political stance is progressive, anti-imperialist, and pan-Africanist. Now, they have commended President John Dramani Mahama for his stance on the emergence of the Alliance of Sahel States. And I go along with them because if you see the sabotage which was organized by West African leaders, especially from the Ghanaian capital against these states, it doesn't make any sense at all. You had a situation where the former president of Ghana actually went to Washington, had a meeting with Anthony Blinken of the United States of America, and asked for assistance, to sabotage Burkina Faso simply because he claimed that Burkina Faso had a certain relationship with Russia. I mean, this was most unfortunate. He also had a situation where ECOWAS leaders came together and decided to launch war on Niger. An absolutely reckless and senseless move. I mean, ECOWAS leaders were ready to send our soldiers to go and die in Niger in order to restore Bazoum, the former president of Niger, who is totally discredited, who has no support in Niger, and so on the promptings of France. And the insult is that France offered ECOWAS leaders $20 million to go and kill their soldiers. Thankfully, the Senate of Nigeria decided not to go along with this madness and voted against intervention in Niger by the Nigerian armed forces. Thankfully also, the Nigerian states bordering Niger decided that they would not allow their territories to be used to launch this completely senseless attack on Niger. And through pressure which was mounted by many organizations, including the Socialist Movement of Ghana, we managed to avert war in West Africa. But since then, under the instigation of France, we have, or some West African states have taken measures to strangulate the economies of these three countries. So, for example, Niger is having a lot of difficulties exporting its oil to China, which it used to do through Benin, and Benin has just closed, the opportunity, and so on. They're having a lot of difficulties importing critical medical supplies, because most of these countries, at least, they are landlocked countries without access to the sea, and so on. So this new relationship with Burkina Faso, with Niger, and with Mali should help these three countries overcome their problems, and so on. Now, the ECOWAS stance is largely based on the assumption that nothing good can come out of military regimes. And therefore, anywhere there's a military regime, that country needs to be strangulated to death. Unfortunately, the ECOWAS leaders forget their own history. That ECOWAS was established by military leaders in West Africa. At the time of the establishment of ECOWAS, most of the leaders in West Africa were military. So the very foundation of ECOWAS, its history and so on, does not lend any weight to the recklessness of West African leaders in dealing with this alliance of Sahel states and so on. Now, it's important to recognize that the alliance of Sahel states is essentially a military alliance. Okay. It came into being because the three states agreed that an attack on one is an attack on all. And that follows the threats from France, the threat from La Côte d'Ivoire and ECOWAS generally. So it's essentially a military, alliance. It's also significant to note that these three countries have dismantled foreign military bases on their soil, especially French military bases on their soil. If you take Niger, Niger was the host of the largest US drone base in the world. That's significant, And Niger has dismantled that, has dismantled the French military bases, and so on. There's something very, very significant. I mean, again, you take Niger, a year ago, or at the beginning of the coup d'etat and so on, Niger was classified as one of the three poorest countries in the world. Within 1 year, Niger now belongs to the classification of the fastest growing economy in the world. You take a country like Burkina Faso, whose gross domestic product has increased hugely. At the time of the coup, it had a gross domestic, product of about 18.3 or thereabout, billion dollars. Now, its gross domestic product is in the region of more than $28 billion. So rather than maintain this hostile attitude to the Sahel states, I think the West African states have a duty, West African leaders have a duty to learn from them. What is it that they're doing which is making their economies work? What is it that they're doing which enables them to take control of their resources, rather than this childish, attitude instigated by France and so on. So I'm very, very happy about the statement which was issued by WAPO in recognition of the bold steps that President John Dramani Mahama has taken in order to normalize relations with Burkina Faso especially, and the alliance of Sahel states in general. Now, my brother, Mr. Philip London, has spoken about the appointment of Lieutenant Colonel Beblolate as a special envoy to the Sahel states. I think this is a master stroke by President Mahama. It's a master stroke. Why do I say that? I've read a number of intelligence reports which shows that Ghana is under threat from the Islamic insurgency that is brewing in these three countries. You understand? Already we do know that Northern Togo has been attacked by the Islamic insurgents. We know that Northern Benin has been attacked by the Islamic insurgents. And we do know that La Côte d'Ivoire itself is in the crosshairs of the Islamic insurgents. Now, this necessarily imposes a duty on these countries to collaborate in the effort to fight the insurgents. And we cannot build this needed collaboration if we adopt the hawkish attitude of former President Akufo-Addo and others, And that's why I think that this appointment is an important one. Again, if you look at the qualifications of Lieutenant Colonel Beblolate, clearly, he's done an amazing job already. He was the head of the AU anti-terrorist unit and the research institution established by the AU in Algeria, to deal with terrorism in Africa. So he's immensely qualified for this job. In addition to that, as a military, guy, he was trained in Cuba as a commando. And one of his skills, there's a guy who is so well trained that is able to jump from a flying aircraft without parachutes. That's a very high level of training, So he's well trained. He knows his job as a military commander. He used to command the notorious 64 Infantry Brigade, which eventually became 64 Infantry Battalion. He's dealt with very critical situations in the past and so on. So he's immensely qualified. In addition to all of this, he's also an academic, teaching at various universities in Ghana. And then, on top of that, he's a lawyer and has been head of national security for some time. So I think that that's a master stroke. The other issue which is raised by WAPO simply has to do with the relations between the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic and the government of Ghana. And sad to say that 2 hours, and I mean 2 hours before leaving office, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, then president, found it necessary to suspend relations with the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Up till now, I cannot understand why that measure was taken, what that measure was intended to achieve. Given the fact that the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic is a founding member of the AU. It's a founding member of the AU. I heard a lot of people saying that, it is recognized by AU. It is more than that. It's a founding member of the AU. Recognized by many states across the world. The vast majority of states across the world recognize the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. And Ghana, throughout the ages, from Nkrumah's time till now, has always upheld the principle of self-determination for all peoples. We have been opposed to colonial occupation and so on. So I cannot fathom how and why somebody like my very good friend, and everybody knows that he was my very good friend, is my very good friend, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, could have taken such a decision. What was it intended to achieve? And since we took that decision, Ghana has received severe backlashing from many organizations across the world, and so on. I am keenly aware of the fact that there are lots and lots of people in the Mahama administration who have stated, even publicly, that this decision will be reversed. I suspect that why it has not been reversed yet is simply because Mahama is still in the process of forming his cabinet. Indeed, his nominee for foreign minister will be vetted today. So as quickly as possible, I expect that this very bad decision will be overturned and that we can establish very fruitful relations with the Sahelian Arab Democratic Republic, the Polisario, in furtherance of liberating Africa from the stranglehold of colonial oppression. And I cannot forget that on the eve of Ghana's independence, Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah declared that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked to the total liberation of the African continent. There are still a few parts of Africa which are under colonial rule, including the Sahelian Arab Democratic Republic. And we, the people of Ghana, would insist that we normalize relations with the Sahelian Arab Democratic Republic. It's our duty, it's an article of faith, indeed it's our commitment to what Nkrumah stood for, and we will not let the people of the Sahelian Arab Democratic Republic down. Relations will be restored.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Kwesi Pratt. We are still unpacking all the relevant conversations here on the newspaper review segment on Good Morning Africa. Now, there are several messages coming through, and you can be a part of the discussion by sending your message, your submission and contribution on the number displayed on your screens. Now, this one says that NDC should know that NPP, after getting 38.2% point in the last election and their MPs reduced to 88, should not be treated as a normal party. They're a group of I'm not sure, please make that clear. They should be harmed with the biggest hammer. All right, interesting one. Thank you for your message, but please clarify what you want to say. This one says, the former Attorney General Godfred Dame, that's what his name is, Godfred Dame, was caught on Jakpa's tape saying that he was forced by Nana Akufo-Addo and Ofori-Atta to persecute and jail Dr. Atto-Forson for political gains. The Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Bawumia-led government will go down in history as the most intransigent, political vendetta, intolerance, wicked and the worst president ever. Ghana will work again under the experienced, tried and tested President John Dramani Mahama. All right. This one also says, an apology alone will not provide sufficient deterrence. I think that the appointments committee should introduce sanctions for such misconduct, or else such behavior will continue to be exploited and erode the system. We need to strengthen our parliament and make it a robust institution by all standards. Oliver Vomawa's behavior has become reprehensibly arrogant and disrespectful to Ghana, and this is the only way we can make it work. Right, thank you very much. We'll be coming to that topic shortly, but let's
just briefly.
Yes. Yes.
I've also heard the rumor that the former president Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has built a mansion in Paris, but it's a rumor. We independently cannot confirm that he's built a mansion. You understand? So I think the point has to be made that it's a rumor, and it remains a rumor until it has been proven. Just to be fair. Just to be fair.
Just to be fair to the former person.
Yesterday I was on a program with, I think the second deputy national chairman, who said that he had gone to relax in France. So it dovetails into the rumor we are talking about, that he has built a mansion there. So if the second deputy national chairman that I was on T-Wood could say that he's gone to take his rest in France, and the rumors were the fact that he was building a mansion so that he could go to rest there, then we can completely say that.
No, you can't conclude.
Yeah. No, I'm not concluding.
You can't conclude that he has a mansion.
No,
simply because he's going to France.
Yes.
I'm not concluding. Have you built a mansion in Accra?
God knows when. But the issue is that I think what he said, if people were listening, they would say that, oh, when they heard that he was building a mansion, he's gone there to rest.
So in short, what you're saying is that you are also feeding from the rumor that he came.
Yeah, but if the deputy
he's making inferences from the conversation he had with
me on TV. It builds into public perception.
The problem is that your inference has no legs to stand on.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody says that Nana Akufo-Addo has gone to France, you cannot immediately confer.
To relax, because he didn't go. He has gone to take his rest there.
He could have been resting in a hotel. He can be resting in the house of a friend. He can be resting anywhere.
Yeah.
You understand? So I think we need to be fair to everybody in these discussions. You know, I mean, I think that he was not an excellent president.
Yeah.
He made many mistakes, but we should be careful not to repeat.
I really don't have a problem with
present and past leaders.
Well, thank you very much,
well.
Honorable Tim. Right, now this message says that, hi patriots, winners are struck but not destroyed. NDC should serve with humility and respect. They shouldn't be power drunk and arrogant. I rest my case. Those who have ears will listen. By Rahim, the special one, Tamale. Okay, thank you very much, Rahim. Now, let's move on to our second topic for discussion this morning. And essentially, the state has dropped the case against Atufosin Richard Jakpa, which made headlines last year, you know, back and forth among other things. And but it is very interesting to note that opposing governments, so when a government is in power, they fish out, or what we call witch hunting, they witch hunt some public officers and prosecutes them, but then when their government comes to power, they, you know, relieve them of that burden. So, Honorable Tim, let me start with you. What do you think of this?
Yes, my take is just simple. You see, justice is served in the name of the people, and justice emanates from the people. And this is not the first time a case against citizens have been dropped by attorney generals when they come into, especially when it is perceived that the case you are perceiving against a citizen is politically motivated. And if the case is grounded on facts, you have been on such cases for especially the Dr. Opuni one for more than 7 years. You should have adduced evidence enough to be able to let the court determine the veracity or otherwise of the case, and then impose the needed sentences and so on. Can you imagine the resources the state has with chasing these cases? And the fact that the accusers in this case have never absented themselves from the court proceedings. They go when they are allowed to go and so on. They were not allowed to travel out and so on. Certain rights and privileges of them as a result of the attendance in this court were curtailed and so on. You have a case hanging over you all the time you are asleep, you are not having your peace and so on. And looking at the facts of the case, if the case were grounded on facts, I think that the court should have disposed the case on, no matter how long it takes. And if you heard pronouncements before these cases were sent to court, the Dr. Opuni one, we heard our colleague, the Honorable Kennedy Agyepong, initially when they took over power, shouting that they must jail Opuni and so on. And this case has been with the court for more than 7 years, and you cannot jail the fellow. It is simply wise for the new Attorney General to dismiss the case and then free these people. It will not be in the interest of the people of this country and the state for the new Attorney General to continue to spend resources chasing this same case to what end? I remember very well that when Akufo-Addo, the President Akufo-Addo, formerly the Attorney General, came into office, he had to drop some cases that were being pursued by the previous Rawlings's regime. I think they were related to some media personnel and so on. He filed a nolle prosequi on the case and so on. We expected that as we journeyed into our constitutional democracy, certain people or certain cases that are perceived to be politically motivated should not be pursued. They should be pursued in the interest of the people of this country. But what did we see? It continued, including the cases of the Atufosun, where the current Attorney General, Odami, was caught on tape saying that he had been forced to jail Atufosun and other people involved, including the Jakpa, the Richard Jakpa tapes, and so on and so on. If you do that, this is the only Attorney General I've seen ordering people to be daily reporting to court for political reasons. Look at the time we wasted on the Achiaa case, or the Asin-North. We wasted resources and everything. We had to go back for political expediency. Why do we do that to our citizens when they serve? When there were a lot of other cases against appointees of the then government, a lot of Auditor General criminal cases that they were supposed to pursue, they never pursued them because they were their own. And yet, look, in the case of the ambulance cases, do you know how much we lost? The suppliers of the ambulance said they would return over $100 million to us. Over $100 million. Do you know what it can do to this country? You were forcing to jail Atufosun and to create a by-election. So we lost over $100 million because we have an Attorney General that has a well-rehearsed agenda to reduce our parliamentary numbers in Parliament, because the president and his cronies have asked him to do so, as caught on the tape. So this country lost. Today we are not going to get $100 million. And yet Parliament...
Million cedis or
dollars. The ambulance...
The whole deal.
The whole deal.
Was
2.3
million.
That's euros. Yeah, 2.37 million euros.
It had to do with some aspect.
It has, yes. But when the ambulances that were supplied, and then it became the brouhaha, you know, the supplier said that I think when you look at the total, including the spare parts and then the equipment that was supposed to fit in and so on, I think it was more than that.
The whole deal was 2.8
billion. Million
euros.
Okay.
Okay. So if we made savings, it could probably have been 100 million cedis, not dollars.
Yeah. And that was for the components of the things that were supposed to have been fixed.
So, including the ambulance themselves.
No.
In any case, the supplier had agreed at a time during the processes that he would refund and take his ambulances back. You understand? And we refused. The Attorney General refused to pursue this. We've lost so much money from it. And I think that the dropping of this case is in the right direction. And it was clear that there were cases that were begging for prosecution under the Nana Dankwa administration, but they never did anything. So for an Attorney General to come and act as a private lawyer, not a lawyer for the Republic of this country, least might to be desired with. And in our history, we should never have such an Attorney General again. We should pray that such a regime that happened under Nana will not happen. Even under a future MPP leadership. We should have a country that is always brought together under one umbrella when there's a new government, but not a political. We are not saying, and I am not saying that if members of a previous regime had done things that are criminal and they are prosecutable, in the court of jurisdiction, they should not be pursued. They have to, just like we are investigating some cases against the then government, that if we find them cases, if we find the facts, that we can prosecute them. The people of this country would want us to pursue them and ensure that justice is done in accordance with due process. No one should be taken to the court because politically we are perceived to be otherwise. I think we are not doing justice to the people of this country. We waste everybody's time, and resources are wasted in terms of the pursuance of this case. There were a lot of cases begging for prosecution and so on. They were all not prosecuted and so on. So for me, the dropping of the ambulance case against Atufosin Rijajakpa and all other cases that were politically motivated is in the right direction, and we should never again in the history of this country go for people whom we think politically have served this country and that you want to make their regime bad. And when you look at the whole justice system, especially under the Attorney General, it was more of persecution.
Yes, so I was going to ask you that, where do we then draw the line between persecution and prosecution? Because it seems to be a trend that they go after certain people in certain government who belong to a certain political party.
Yeah.
And it has become a trend.
That is certain. We were believing that Nanado, we were told that he was a doyen of the Ghanaian legal system, he was a no-nonsense guy, he's a lawyer, and so he's a human rights activist. He should ensure that under his regime, the principle he stood for, and how people campaign for him, knowing that he will come to strengthen the legal system and allow justice to flow. It doesn't matter whose horse is God, but once you go against the, what do you call it, the laws of this country, should be punished. We've seen clear cases where people attack the judiciary. In the case of the Kumasi case, where hooligans of the then administration enter into a court, a sitting court, a pregnant woman, and threaten and free suspects that were being under trial. Actually, what did the Attorney General do? It was clear criminal cases. He didn't do anything. There were some of the cases they even failed to pursue. They dropped them somewhere along the line because their people were involved. We can continue the whole day about that. We are not going to end anyway. That is why I call that we should never, in this country should never, in future, from now, that will appoint an Attorney General who has his own well-rehearsed agenda to come and pursue cases that do not have basis for prosecution at all. You waste all of us our time. Look at the belligerence and the arrogance of the Attorney General. Even people were young before the cause for issues they were calling contempt. Look at the contemptuous issues that are happening now. Even look at the fact that this electoral commission, cases that have been ruled by the courts, the electoral commission will go ahead and go and implement what they want in terms of elections and so on, ignoring the contemptuous aspect of it and so on. And yet the judiciary was so impotent, and is still impotent in acting in the face of this brazen violation of the rights of people and so on. Sometimes if they do not want, the judge that sat on a case, if the judgment of that case is not in their interest, the judge is transferred immediately. How do you manipulate the judiciary like that? How do you manipulate the judiciary? It was not for nothing that people gave this judiciary the name of what? Unanimous verdict and so on and so forth. And they themselves acknowledged and said that yes, they know they had been Christian unanimous 7 and so on. It was not for nothing that the National Security Capo, Honorable the National Security Minister, had to say that the perception that any time a case is brought against the opposition, they continue to lose the case was a national security threat, and they should begin to give cases that will look as if they are being impartial and so on. The National Security Minister had to come to say these things. And he's the National Security Minister. He knew what was happening and the tensions they were bringing. And I think that never again should we have an Attorney General that would do justice in this way.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lam.
Yes, thank you, Mahama. My brother has virtually exhausted everything about this case. Like he himself started, the case is almost so straightforward. There isn't much to say. But he said everything about it. So, I would want to go into certain other aspects that this case brings up. Yes, it is most regrettable that this case appears to be nothing but a vendetta. What happened? Ambulances were imported. Under the terms of the importation, some elements in those vehicles were supposed to have been assembled when they were here, after they had arrived. So they did not come, as it were, fully assembled. It is not uncommon for any vehicles, machinery, etc. to be exported to the customer in some level of knockdown state. We always see, I'm very often on the Agyekum road, and you see these huge haulage trucks being sent to the mining areas. The dump is on one articulator, two tires are on another, the other two tires, then they take time to assemble. But because all of these were specialized, sensitive equipment, they were supposed to have been put together finally while they were here. Anyway, all that is past. The conduct of that case was most unfortunate. The way it was handled, the judge, how the judge was given extension of his retirement, evidence that was rejected. Then when the new judge eventually came, he looked at the case, he said, look, I want to retry the case. Under the circumstance, whether it was NDC that came to power, Movement for Change that came to power, or maybe even the same MPP but a better Attorney General that came to power, the Attorney General would probably have looked at that case and said, you know something, let me drop these charges. Because it was obvious that there was virtually no case to be established. And that is what we condemn. And we condemn it across board. As a country, we have gone far. There are more problems in this life. Why should we spend 8 years of resources trying to persecute one person to no end? It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. Yes, people who come to power with the promise of a certain attitude and style of wanting to achieve certain things, only for them to receive the power and do the contrary. I think we must go beyond the way we appoint some of our people. Look at our vetting process. One side is with the ruling government that is appointing the nominee. The other side is the opposition, some of whom are determined to find nothing but fault with the nominee. The appointing people are nothing but praise singers, and the man is so great and he's doing so well. The opposition people say you don't know how to sing this song, and are we serious?
London.
No, see, my brother. Are we serious?
No, it's a good point you brought in.
You have a nominee in a position. The position has serious challenges. You want, by virtue of the fact that you are in that committee, going to give, and thankfully, television is making it available to all of us. You are going to help us be convinced that this individual has been nominated because he or she is worthy of that position. And you are there singing songs. I mean, I would wish to have seen a nomination process where, for a particular position, there are certain institutional representations. Ghana Institution of Engineers, even Bar Association, certain various different groups, even the Trades Union Congress, Teachers Associations, CSOs. You have an interest in that area. Let them too be there and fire questions, and let us hear what the nominee has to say. Then, first of all, to make even the appointing authority sit up, because they won't want to see their nominee embarrassed. The nominee must be worth their salt. Come and prove to us it will put pressure on them to perform.
They may even change some nominees.
Yeah, well, then you see,
Yes.
then it is a proper vetting process.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, the country benefits. The country is a winner. You know, but the way it is going, it is not helping even the government. It's not helping even the government at all. Whichever government it is, it's not helping. So we must also have a process whereby we don't just allow us, you know, somebody who has just been appointed is going into his official residence and it's found that his official residence has been so run down. So his predecessor who just left office, what was he doing there? We should have a way of testing some of these people halfway through their term. We should test them. How have you performed? We ask you, how did you handle the situation? You said you do this, what have you done? It will help the president keep his ministers on their toes. Otherwise, some of them just feel that they have got the position and they're just enjoying life. No way. You are there to serve. It will be a constant reminder to them that you are there to serve. You see? Not a way of, you know, yes, we'll condemn offending foot soldiers who will go to a court and release thugs in a courtroom and threaten a judge. We should condemn it. At the same time, too, other thugs will say it is our party that is in power. So we too, we are occupying another area. We must condemn all these things. We must condemn it. You know, because what we all want is peace. I disagree with you, disagree with me, but we are at peace. And we move on. And we all want the best of this country. So I think that what this case has highlighted the more is the way we get some of our officials and how, you know, they conduct themselves. And even in the specific case of the Attorney General, his predecessor, he was deputy to his predecessor. His predecessor was somebody who was a woman of her own right. She wasn't going to take nonsense. And because of that, she was dropped. So the man who is brought to replace her, he knows that, hey, if this my appointing president, I don't do what he wants, he'll fire me. So now he becomes the biggest. All those things, I think, we have to change.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. London. Comrade Kwesi Pratt.
Well, I mean, in large measure, I agree with the submissions of my colleagues on the panel, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this matter. What I'd like to say is that there are other cases which also need review, you know. And I'm thinking about the case of Gregory Afoko. I mean, I cannot understand why this case has been going on for all these years, almost 8 years.
But even in this case, the case is not even going on. The man is just behind bars.
So if the state cannot find the evidence, why keep him in prison? You know, it simply doesn't make any sense at all. So I do hope that at some point the case of Gregory Afoko would be reviewed and that the Attorney General would take the appropriate measures to ensure that his rights are respected. Then there's the case of Sexy Don Don.
Sexy Don Don.
Yeah, Sexy Don Don or Sexy Don Don, who is accused of murdering the former member of parliament, J.B. Dankwa Edu. That case has been going on forever. What is happening? Where is the evidence? And if the state cannot convict, why keep him in jail? If there's sufficient evidence to convict him, You understand? So I cannot understand these things. And I do hope that the Attorney General, the new Attorney General, will review all these cases. All those who have spent some time at the medium security prison in Isaon are amazed at the numbers of people on remand, and some for many years. We also have the cases of those who are, you know, on, how do they call it? There's a category of prisons, who are in the prison at the pleasure of the president. You know, no charges have been prepared against them. They are not on trial. I think they called them presidential something. I mean, when I was there, most of the times they're in isolation. It doesn't make sense. And then people who have been on remand for many years and so on. I think we need to review all of these cases.
Their dockets are missing.
Yeah. In the particular case of Atu Fosun and Jakpa, one of the things that I found most astonishing was the revelation on that tape, you know, that the then Attorney General was actually involved in tampering with evidence before the courts. I mean, that is a serious allegation. You know, his voice on the tape, I mean, directing Jakpa, for example, to go for a fake medical report, it's a serious matter. So I'm happy that this matter has been brought to a close, but there are many other cases that need review.
Thank you very much, Comrade Kwesi Pratt. We're still having insightful conversations here on the show. This is Good Morning Africa, the newspaper review segment, precisely. We've got a number of messages coming through, and one of our very popular viewers, Stephen Pen from WA, has sent a message. Says, "Good morning, Ohemaa. I believe lawyer Bakavomawo had some evidence, but behind the scene he has been urged to protect the image and sanctity of Parliament. Just come to think of how the appointment committee handled the vetting of the Greater Accra Regional Minister designate. My humble opinion." All right, thank you. This one also says, "Hello, Ohemaa, and good morning to you and your panelists. Madam, truth be told," oh, really? Thank you very much for the compliments. Says,
the compliment that the rest of us
he says, "Truth be told, you are really beautiful." Now to my focus.
That is you.
Yeah, he's complimenting me.
A lot of widows who have come here.
You also want to be described as beautiful.
Because he hasn't said it wrong.
If you want to be described as beautiful, I'm sure
But beautiful is gender neutral, so it's possible that he's described as beautiful.
Beautiful is for women.
No. I think it's mostly used for women, but
yes.
I can say he's beautiful.
You mean this man?
An item is beautiful.
Yes.
They cannot say
Okay,
man.
man is beautiful. All right. It says that now to my focus. I really appreciate the commencements of the education minister, but I would wish he sticks to his promise during his vetting, and also he should seek first the benefit of the nation and the willingness of education sector. Again, he should know that he is a servant of the nation, not a political servant. All right, smart. He's a journalist. Thank you very much. Danso also says, "Good morning to you all. Mr. Vomawo's assertion can be true. Please treat it wisely because there's little truth in every rumor. Other than that, the appointment committee's integrity will be at stake, and also the former president, Akufo-Addo's mansion in France allegedly needs to be investigated, as the NPP in government did to President Mahama, spelled as President Mahama, after he lost the 2016 elections. As the Akan proverb says, the stick that is used to beat Stechi, that same stick will be used to beat Bar. All right, Amos Asinfosu, thank you very much for your message. Let me do this one and then we proceed. This one says, "Good morning, Ohemaa. In my humble opinion, whatever that is happening at the vetting committee should be blamed directly to the doorsteps of the chairman. It seems to me the chairman has lost control to bring proceedings to order. Afenyo markings as a rank is ranking to the chairman, and he has managed to take control of the vetting process from the hands of the chairman. In my humble opinion, Afenyo marking should be called to order. The attacks on nominees from him is becoming one too many, and the earlier he is called to order, the better. Members of the majority at vetting committee are behaving as if they are in the minority. All right, I'm so disappointed. Okay, thank you very much for your message, but I'll be reading more towards the end of the show, and you can keep your messages coming through on the number displayed on the screen. But let's move to our next topic for discussion, and it has to do with what happened before the vetting committee yesterday. Oliver Bakavoma making some allegations against the vetting committee and also some parliamentarians with regards to corruption-related matters. I believe you are privy to this matter. And did you watch the vetting yesterday, Mr. Langdon? What do you make of it, the proceeding in general?
Well, the situation as previously advertised was that Mr. Ohemaa was being summoned to the committee to verify or answer to the accusations that he had made against the committee. He came with his counsel, and I think one thing that really saved him was the fact that he got a very senior, highly respected individual counsel to be his counsel. I believe that if it had not been for him, it had been somebody else, the way it went might have been slightly different. But anyway, a situation like this would have been very simple and straightforward. Two charges have been made against you. You said this and you said that. One is a direct quote, the other is a report of what you said. He denied the report that it wasn't what he said, and that it came from a fake or anonymous source. The report, the quote that was attributed to him, he, through his counsel, said that yes, he said it, he didn't intend to cause any trouble, and virtually meant that he apologized. But the counsel went on to make a few other comments to suggest that he believed that he was doing the right thing because there were some issues of concern.
He said he used the word whistle blowing.
Issue of concern, so therefore he was blowing the whistle. That was where the problem came. So if you have issues of concern, you have every right to raise it, but you don't raise it as an accusation. I have an issue of concern about a brother of mine, that he has done this or he is doing this. That is my concern, and I voice it. So if I voice that concern, it is just a concern that he might be doing it. But if you voice a concern that my brother has done this, that's another matter.
Yeah.
And if you say whistleblower, that means that you have the evidence in your hand. So we went through all that, and eventually it came to his apology and withdrawal of the statement. That could all have been resolved in the first few minutes. Mr. Ohemaa took the opportunity to begin to give a whole rendition and left a few pockets, in it. Well, at the end of the day, for me as a citizen of Ghana, I wasn't happy that the reputation of the House of Parliament had been dragged like that. He wasn't accused just the committee members, the House, and all previous parliamentarians, including my brother here.
Well, he's
No. I said all previous members of Parliament.
No, I'm not.
No. Okay, sorry. Okay. No, but I think the accusation impinged on the House.
You finish
it impinged on the House of Parliament.
So the argument is that he has lowered them in the estimation of a right-thinking man.
Yes, the House of Parliament.
But
through the committee.
he issued a disclaimer after the post that he wasn't directly referring to parliamentarians or the members of the appointment committee or specific people, but he was saying that there were shadow characters or shadow figures who were perpetrating this.
This was after the event, but yesterday when he was summoned, all these things you're talking about hadn't come up.
Yeah,
he was summoned because of what was before the committee. He had said things against the committee that impinged not only on the chairman and the members, but generally on the House of Parliament. That's how I saw it. And like the chairman said, you made it sweeping, so it encompasses everybody.
Yeah.
Which was even worse. You see, I think if he had been very sincere, he'd have just gone in there, like would have been expected of anybody, and said, you know something, I said this. I'm sorry. I apologize. I withdraw. I retract. By the way, the whole thing dried. It's like the man who just told you you are beautiful. He tells you you are beautiful, then when he sees you, he frowns his face and he says, is this somebody who tells you he's beautiful? You are beautiful. Anyway, so that's my point.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Langdon. Honorable Timothy.
Yeah, you see.
Unfortunately, due to time, we would have to keep it very brief.
We have to be careful. Parliament must be very careful. Parliament is a platform for the ventilation of grievances. And people, when they make comment, they should not immediately be young before a committee. You are suppressing freedom of speech.
Freedom of accusation.
Yeah, because, you see, you should have the capacity to contain this and coming from a citizen. It helped you reshape the institution. To quickly young people before, because they made allegations, and you have to stop a whole vetting process to try that case. You were vetting the guy. You couldn't have waited after the vetting, then you bring him another day. What was the emergency in bringing Vomao before an appointment committee to answer otherwise allegations made by him? And the members of parliament themselves sometimes have made these allegations against themselves. Are we not the citizens of Ghana? Are they trying to get? There are some of the allegations when they come out. Sometimes you just overlook them, then with time. Or if you really want to resolve the matter, you can call the guy and say, look, if you know people who are behind this, can you assist us to stop these? Because there have been copious reports about, even by surveys, that have listed institutions and where parliament is in terms of these allegations. I've seen, you see, sometimes it can be worrisome. I've seen this thing. A businessman attempted to pay bribes for ministerial appointment, Mahama, the leader. And this, they are quoting, speaking on Joy FM, PML Express on Tuesday, 2028, the MP for Central... 2028? January 28. The Boko Central MP recounted the encounter, stating that the appointment committee does not demand money from the nominee and urging anyone with evidence of bribery to come forward. We can go on and on and on. If you do that, you are intimidating the citizens. Look at the altercation that occurred between this young lady, what's her name? Anodompre and Hardcastle.
I'm a for Hardcastle.
That's it. You see, when you do that, these are constituents who voted for you. Then you go and use the floor of parliament. The lady has done that. Then blah 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 blah. Where are we going? Where are we going? You said the lady called you micro minority. So what? If they call you are not micro minority, what is the big deal in this? Should that lead to the fellow go to the floor of parliament and talk and waste everybody's time? The fellow should be called before privileges committee and do ABCD. Why? Things that public officials have even done against the people of this country, including killing citizens.
But have you heard the quote here? He was alleged to have made a puppet.
Yes, we can go on. Look at Jabba, is it something Madam Jabba, came before the appointment committee. Look at how a deputy speaker, Joe Wise, can say that they should shoot and kill people, and they were criminals when they went to the what do you call it, to observe voting the voting process and that. That's a deputy speaker of parliament, a lawyer by excellence. They should shoot them. They were criminals when they went there, and the guarantee should be shot. We have to strike a balance as to what to say, and I feel that the public relations office of parliament must do more. That is the first. And then you even sit at the first and insist that Vakabongo was an NDC fellow. So if he was NDC or MPP fellow and he said the wrong thing, should he be allowed to go because he was an NDC fellow? That is a minority, macro minority leader sitting there insisting. And Vakabongo has said on copious that he's not an NDC fellow. Even if he was an NDC fellow and he goes against the rule, take him through that. Must you publicly as a leader be doing that? Look at their conduct. You remember the case involving Suyini and then the same Joe Wise on that what they did to Suyini? Even this woman, the former MP for Kwabinya, what is her name? Achiaa even talked to and said, what rudeness is that? You talk to your colleague, like you talk down on your colleagues like that. I am not in any case saying that he should make a sweeping statement. There was one time, I think this our Rasta guy, the black Rasta said that members of parliament smoke weed, and he was young before.
Yeah.
So if we are testing, can we get members of parliament who smoke weed or who don't smoke weed? There are some statements when citizens make, you just allow them to follow. They have to stop a vetting, the whole vetting, to concentrate on Vakabama. What did they do? And there was a senior lawyer, and they were even saying that they want to refresh the senior lawyer's mind about laws. What disrespect is that? Afenyomarko was telling someone who has been at the bar for over 50 years that he wants to refresh his mind about laws. What law do you know?
Right. Thank you very much, Honorable Comrade Kwesi Pratt. Please round up for us.
Tim, I mean, look, freedom of speech does not allow anybody to go about making useless allegations against others which will destroy their reputation. That cannot come under the rubric of freedom of speech. And yesterday, Vomo himself said that the allegation he made had no basis. So he had no business making those allegations. You understand? I think that people who have the opportunity to speak in public spaces, like all of us, have a duty to be circumspect in what they say. And we cannot take the liberty to go around destroying people's reputations and so on. It is improper. We cannot encourage it. I'm intrigued by the anger of somebody like Arnold Dompre about reference to the minority as micro-minority. If it's not micro-minority, what it is? You have a parliament of 276 or 75 members. We have only 80 seats or so. And when they refer to you as micro-minority, you get angry. It is not the description of your minority which is important. The substance of the work you do, which would elevate you. To all intents and purposes, that's a micro-minority. If you don't like it, they can go to hell.
All right, thank you very much, Comrade Pratt. Very interesting, insightful conversation. This has been the newspaper review segment. Just 1 second, yes.
2 weeks ago, I heard some very disturbing news about my good friend, Dr. Percy, that he had passed. I would like to express my deep condolences to his family and all our brethren who were all colleagues on this platform. And that,
and just to announce that on Thursday, I think in the evening at 5 p.m., the Socialist Movement of Ghana, a week from today, will be holding a night of tributes for Dr. David Percy at the Freedom Center, Kukumemble on the Kotoko Avenue. So all friends and so on are invited to participate in this night of tribute for a very distinguished citizen, Dr. David Percy.
Thank you very much, and thank you to you for always choosing us to bring you the very best. Let me read just one message and we are out of here. This one says, as a citizen, Ohemaa, I think Parliament is the one that subjected itself for all these allegations. Under the 8th Parliament, Speaker Bagbin rejected budget, and Deputy Speaker, please get your spellings and your constructions clearly for me, rejected his board's rejection. Speaker Bagbin sent off 4 members of parliament, and Afenyo Marking took to court and reinstated them. Well, I'm not sure. It's not very clear. So if you could put them well together. But tomorrow we are still here, and we are going to have all the relevant conversations unpacked, as you are also invited to always join us to, have these conversations. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow.